Good morning from the National Weather Service in Raleigh. It's Nick Petro with your routine weekly briefing for Central North Carolina. This weather briefing is going to cover the period from today, November 25th, through the first day of December. That'll be Sunday, December 1st, including the Thanksgiving holiday. So, what have we got here? Let's take a look at current observations, as I usually like to do. And right now, across Central North Carolina, it's looking pretty nice. Give a moment for the temperatures to catch up there, but you'll see this is a loop, and as you'll see, temperatures are climbing into the 60s. So can't complain. What's the normal high temperature for this time of year? Probably right around 60. So if we at least hit 60, we're pretty close to average. So really can't complain there. There are some clouds to our west moving in. You'll see those clouds out over the Mississippi, Ohio Valley, Tennessee Valley. That's associated with a cold front. And I zoom out, you'll notice some really cold readings in the north central plains. Looks like, let's see, it looks like there's some snow there up in the upper Great Lakes there in the Midwest. But if I remove the satellite image, you'll see that the front itself doesn't have a whole lot of rain with it. So, so at least this particular front, okay, and that's largely a matter of the dew points. If we look at the current dew points, you have a front moving into a relatively dry air as it is. So, to create rain, you need moisture in the atmosphere and humidity. And if you don't have a lot of humidity, even though you have a lifting mechanism by way of cold front, you're not going to get a lot of rain. So a front moving in the dry air is usually not a lot of rain. Okay, so anyway, that's my little science tip of the day. Well, you know what? Look at that. A lot of folks are typing in, they can't see my screen. Good heavens. All right. I apologize for that. From the National Weather Service in Raleigh, Nick Petro with your routine weekly briefing for Central North Carolina, Monday, November 25th, covering through Sunday, the 1st of December, including Thanksgiving. So let's switch over to current observations again. There we go. It's working that time. And here's kind of what I was pointing out the first time around. We could see that temperatures are climbing into the 60s across Central North Carolina, which is close to normal. We have some clouds moving across the Ohio and Tennessee and Mississippi valleys. That's all associated with a cold front. You could see the bitterly chilly air here across the northern plains. That's going to stay obviously well to our north. You see some snow there up across the upper Midwest. And as I turn off satellite, you can see that there's not a whole lot of rain with the front, which is back here. And as we look at dew points as a measure of moisture, you can see the dew point readings with the front currently basically moving, with the front currently sort of in this region of the country. The front's moving east towards air that's just about equally dry ahead of it than what's immediately behind it. So when a front moves into dry air, that doesn't bode well for creating precipitation. So one of the things you're going to hear me mention here in the next moment is that we're not going to get a lot of rain across Central North Carolina with this frontal passage when eventually it does move across our area tomorrow morning. So speaking of that, let's go ahead and jump to the weather pattern graphics here. And here's that cold front that I was just talking about on the today map, and you could see very little green splotches. That means not a whole lot of rain with its frontal passage. This front will basically be right over us 24 hours from now, this time tomorrow. And again, we should be mainly dry. A stray shower can't be ruled out, but most places will remain dry today. And then once that front pushes well to our south here on Wednesday, you'll see high pressure sitting right over us. So dry weather on Wednesday. What does that mean for if you're traveling? Well, if you're traveling, 1 or 2 states away, it should be okay if you're traveling the day before Thanksgiving, to get to a family, friend's house for Thanksgiving. You should be okay across, most of the mid-Atlantic down to the southeast and you know, if you can get up, if you're going further north and northwest, if you leave early enough, perhaps you'll slip in there before the rain and snow gets there. But do know that this weather is moving into the areas to our north, and certainly, again, if you're staying close and doing some traveling, but staying close to North Carolina, you should be okay on Wednesday for the drive. Any further than that, all bets are off. But by Thursday, look what happens. That whole frontal system that on Wednesday was over the middle of the country, that frontal system will be right over the Appalachians and the Mid-Atlantic and Southeast. And we're going to be in for a period of wet weather from mid-Thursday through early Friday. Okay, so unfortunately, Thanksgiving Day, at least here in central North Carolina and actually across much of the East, looks kind of wet. So that's why, you know, if you get your traveling done on Wednesday, you should be okay, at least if you're not traveling very far. And by car, of course, that is. But by Thursday, even local travel will be kind of wet. All right, so so that front exits by Friday afternoon, and then we get into a dry period of weather by Sunday. Now, that said, that dry weather on Sunday, look at the high up here to our north, and it's going to be pouring in some of the coldest air of the season behind Thursday and Friday's front. There's like a big express of cold air headed our way for this weekend. Okay, so cold and dry this weekend. Cold, so hard freezes are in the offing for the nighttime hours this weekend. Okay, so but dry. So that's the good news, right? Cold but dry. So one thing I want to point out real quick, and let me show you a model web page that I typically use. This is one of many freely available websites that are online where you can go and look at model data. But this is the let me go forward to the current time. This is basically the colors represent how far above normal, or relatively speaking, or below normal the air is, right? So where you see these shades of red, it's above normal. Where you see these shades of blue, it's below normal. And the more blue, the deeper the blue, the colder the air mass is. So I like to use this as sort of an air mass assessment. If you're in the red, you're above normal air mass. If you're in the blue, you're colder than normal. You know, one might say, well, geez, there's very few parts of the country that are actually normal, right? The white-ish area would be where the temperatures are generally climatologically normal. So, you know, generally, this goes on to say that pretty much, well, you're either above normal or below normal, right? The other thing I want to point out is between these two, you'll see an area, a strip of white. Well, that's the transition between above normal and below normal. And the transition between below normal and above normal is usually a front. Okay, so that's where the weather occurs. So when the air masses are changing, that's where you get the fronts and the associated weather events. Okay, so this is basically right now. So temperatures are a few degrees above normal. This is about this time tomorrow. And you can see there's that little front right there. You know, you see a little change from a little bit above normal to a little bit below normal, right? And then the white in between, that's the front moving through. That's this time tomorrow evening, tomorrow night in the middle of the night. And you can see we don't really cool down a lot behind tomorrow's front. It kind of, the front that's coming tomorrow just kind of puts us back into an air mass where it's closer to normal. It's not like a wholesale air mass change. Okay, so that's Wednesday. This is Thursday, and look what's happening on Thanksgiving Day. Look at this cold air mass. This Arctic air mass, cold, I'll put here cold, right? And this cold air mass is diving to the southeast. And this warm air mass is retreating away. And of course, in between the two, you have a front. And that's why we're going to have all the rain on Thursday, because you have such a dramatic change of air mass coming in late in the week, on Thanksgiving Day, no less. Okay, so then watch what happens after that. Look how the cold air just pours in. That's by Friday. Friday afternoon. That's by Saturday afternoon. We're in the deeper blues, almost purples. Saturday, look, and then it reinforces. Oh my gosh, it gets even more purple, more pink by 12Z Monday. So we're in for a period of weather. I'm backing up here from Thanksgiving Day, which is right here, right, where the front comes in and boom, all this cold air just pours in from the northwest, right through basically Friday, Saturday, Sunday, even into Monday. It's well below normal temperatures. Here's Tuesday, well below normal. I mean, this air mass isn't going anywhere for any time. Tuesday, still below normal. There's by Wednesday, it's kind of moderating. And then Thursday, we get a reinforcement of the cold air, and then sort of maybe a brief break in that real cold air about 10 days from now. Okay. And I'll stop right here. This model goes out another 5 or 6 days into the future, but it'll change, I guarantee. So anyway, back to, so I wanted to show you a little bit about the setup of the cold air that's pouring in, because it's really going to turn chilly around here again after Thanksgiving. All right, what else? What else do we got? Accumulated rain. So, you know, this is probably a little bit overdone for tomorrow. I think tomorrow's front's going to be really dry. This represents on Wednesday what's coming in at night, Thursday night, and here's the wet weather for Thursday, for Thanksgiving Day, and then drying out on Friday. And 7-day totals, we're talking about, you know, 3/4 to maybe an inch of rain, which is much needed. We are pretty dry still, so we could use this rain. No flash flooding threat, no severe thunderstorm threat. And again, this is our graphical hazardous weather outlook, which at a glance you can ascertain what is the biggest threats. And clearly what jumps off the page here is the cold threat, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And if this went into Monday, you'd still see this colored purple. Okay. Yeah, there could be maybe a stray lightning strike on Thursday, stray thunderstorm, but that's not going to be a big deal. All right, so quiet across the tropics. And again, this is just another way to reiterate the 8 to 14-day temperature outlook shows really cold, but fortunately more tending to be on the drier side of things, right? Because if it's this cold and we had precip, well, I'm not even going to go there. So so let's just hope it stays dry, because with that kind of cold air coming, yeah, you want it to stay dry. All right, so, and it looks like it probably will. All right, so wrapping it up, fair weather today. Cold front moves in Tuesday morning. Stray shower can't be ruled out. Most places stay dry. Dry on Wednesday. That's a decent day to travel, you know, if you're going to be driving somewhere for Thanksgiving. Wet weather mid-Thursday through early Friday as that front comes through. And then the cold air pours in behind that front for this weekend into early next week, and hard freeze conditions possible this weekend. So just to give everybody a heads up, normally when our routine briefings are scheduled on holidays, we normally postpone it to the next day. We do make some exceptions if there's you know, high impact weather around. So it's still kind of up in the air about whether we're going to do our briefing on Thursday, but right now our next one isn't scheduled till Friday. So our Thursday end of week briefing will probably be on Friday, unless there's some reason we need to you know, do one on Thursday for hazardous weather. Okay, so stay tuned. If you don't hear from us on Wednesday or into Thursday, we'll probably just do our next briefing on Friday. So hope everybody has a great holiday weekend and a wonderful Thanksgiving, and I hope everybody can stay safe for their holiday and stay warm this upcoming weekend.